Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Pathfinder Plays, and today we are going to be talking just a little bit about the current state of dead matter. Let's get into it. So it's safe to say that the hype for dead matter for a lot of people is done. I had a few videos planned on giving some opinions on some of the stuff I saw in Duck's stream or Big Fry's stream, but at this point it would feel rather disingenuous to put out a video like I normally would, seemingly ignoring the situation most of players find themselves in. This is a tricky spot to be in for a content creator because I want to make videos about it, I still believe in it, but I can't anyways because they have not done very many positive things to give me anything to make a video on. So let's just take a look at the past week's events. It was August 19th. Day 1 of launch. Everything was on track, people were pumped up and excited, and literally frothing at the mouth to get inside the world of dead matter. The game that has been in production for 3 years, been delayed a number of times, and has had multiple blunderings during development is finally here, for us to enjoy. But it wasn't. Of course, the delay wasn't anticipated and for sure caught the developers off guard. Havoc Hank posted a kind reminder of the NDA that applies to all those outside of the partner circle, but gave the rest of us specific channels to discuss the game. Soon after, Airlight warned that their Discord would go down because they were nearing a member limit of 25,000 members, which is true, by the way, but there should have been some foresight about this to begin with and all other details of the launch. After all, the community is the most valuable part of a game launch. Without them, your game doesn't matter. So the threat of having the primary source of communication the community has be cut off right when the game is about to launch is not good. Unfortunately, the troubles didn't end there. Not only was the Discord about to go down, the website was already down. Little did we all know that this was not a fluke, but a common occurrence in the days to come. The reason it went down was because there was so many people trying to connect to the server that it DDoSed it. That does bring up the issue as to why they set the system up this way. I know that they said it was for security purposes, and that's fine. Security is very important. But steps should have been taken in reasonable anticipation of the influx of website users. Later the same night, Airlight said that they are experiencing some technical issues with both their backend and Discord server, but they are actively working to resolve that situation to get the closed alpha in the hands of the backers as soon as possible. This announcement obviously has not aged well, being as 4 days later many people still don't have their keys. This is when they start playing catch up with the issues that weren't prepared for. What they thought would be a night of celebration in the community was quickly turning into a night of angst and anger. Trolls began to filter out of the crowd of backers and harass the development team. The Discord was locked later that night due to them not being able to moderate all of it effectively, and the outages it keeps causing under such heavy load. I will take this time to say that I do not support the trolls, I do not support those who are harassing the developers, and for those of you who are going to more extreme measures to harm them and the community and the Discord, you should either 1, be in jail, depending on what you have done, or 2, be just deeply ashamed of yourself. End of launch day 1. August 20th, Airlight comes back into the Discord, which is still locked at this point, saying that issues are still needing to be resolved, but they are close to being done. The Discord hasn't been upgraded yet, quote, from what I've seen, end quote, and then a promise and threat that if any angry gamers spam the channels, they will be met with, quote, harsh sanctions, end quote. The interesting thing about this portion is that he says that from what I've seen, which implies that he isn't the one who put in for the upgrade request, because then he would have just given an objective statement saying the Discord isn't updated, it will be updated in the near future, but instead he was on the outside looking into the situation and was not given a clear answer because he has to rely on what he's seen and not on what he's been told. Of course, this message could have simply been written poorly to give the opening for the implication I just mentioned, but from what we have seen these last few days, I do wonder how good the team's communication is from the top to the bottom. He then says, "Thanks for being so cool with us," and well, the Discord is locked. Of course, Of course, things seem cool, but then things were not so cool, or at least there was simply too many cool comments being directed at the developers and Airlight specifically because he disabled his direct messages and noted that they don't have an ETA of when things will be fixed. Perhaps he locked his direct messages in anticipation for the vitriol that was inevitably going to be pointed at him for that announcement. I don't blame him. Then for the first time during the game launch, Metamoth, the PR manager and level designer, brings up an announcement. It is good news, actually. Discord had upped their cap and they were going to start ramping up the Discord slowly. This was great because people were being left in the dark, anger was coming to a boiling point, and people were starting to lose hope. People still hadn't received their keys, and he said that progress would be slow. The website was still down, and they were still being slammed by traffic, and he said they were examining other options to get the keys out to us ASAP. Whatever they examined, they must not have liked or found no viable alternatives because, as far as I know, a different avenue of key release never came. More trouble came, however. Some users were beginning to take advantage of the desperation of the backers by spreading a website link that looked like QI Software's, but instead of taking you to the game store, it distributed malware. It was also during this time or shortly after that another Discord was created called Delayed Matter, which was made so people could go and complain without the constraints of the Dead Matter Discord. Despite those things happening, another announcement was made and it was great news. Keys were starting to be fed into the site for redemption, but they said they were doing this slowly so they avoid the website from falling apart. But what happens when there is a huge demand but limited supply? People rush even faster towards what limited supply there is, fighting each other for it. And the site went down again, and if it wasn't down for some people, for those people the store page was not accessible. Some players were actually able to make it into the game, however, but they found that there were no servers up to play in. They said they decided not to put the servers up until more people got the keys, so getting the game key was still a rather sour win. Nitrado, the server provider, was working on getting servers up, but why the servers weren't up in anticipation for the launch to begin with, I don't know. Metamoth said that the servers would be up after some final preparation, but once again, why were those preparations not finalized a day ago when the launch was supposed to happen? They also took the time to kindly remind people not to discuss the game in public channels, but to discuss it on their Discord in the provided NDA channels. End of launch day 2. August 21st. Metamoth gives an announcement saying that keys have been topped up, but it doesn't matter because the site is down again. They set up a system called Cloudflare on their site which stops malicious traffic before it reaches your website, which is interesting and worrying because they said prior to this that the DDoSing was due to a massive number of users gaining access to the website, but if this system stops malicious traffic, then they are having more issues than anticipated. Though the system was meant to bring security, it brought false hope to many people, thus increasing the anger in the community. Because they made some mistakes with how they set it up, and in doing so, they released bad game keys, one of which I received as well, so don't worry. This resulted in some pretty good memes on Twitter, but further induced rage in the community, because now they feel toyed with. The bad keys were revoked, and we were told that the site should go back up with functional keys. It's interesting to point out the word usage here. They say that it should go back up, not would go back up. This whole time, there has not been very many confident declarative statements being made. This is also the first time, however, that they have apologized as well for not giving out the keys, but then also made that apology kind of void by saying that they don't have the keys already because they are waiting on Valve to give them the keys, and also that their community will have to wait till Monday to get the keys because Valve does not release keys on the weekend when most people play games. The next pieces of information are truly interesting. They said that the website kept crashing because they didn't anticipate 22.6 million requests, around 600,000 requests per hour. That is honestly more than most would have anticipated, to be sure, but what they once said were unintentional DDoSing of the website is now a mixture of unintentional and intentional attacks. That is why the website is so unstable. They tested various security security measures, took note of how many attacks they were receiving, and did their best to stop them. This site kept going up and down most of the night due to this, though they did say that this was due not to the attacks, but user volume, at least as they can tell. During this period, the website will continue to be down for most people. What happened next should have been anticipated. What happens when you put a strict NDA on people and not others, namely the partners? Those who don't care about the NDA will stream the game anyways, or better yet, simply restream a stream that is allowed from a partner's channel to gain viewership and followers and maybe even subscribers on Twitch. More than this though, people were giving out fake keys and even impersonating developers in interviews and giving false information to the more gullible of the community. Fake links continued to go around spreading malware and keyloggers in the community. This launch, instead of giving a game, gave tons of issues to gamers that they simply weren't prepared for. Despite all this information, they made sure to point out that they did not intend to deflect blame from their own failures. They did admit that they have failed the community. They did admit that they should have been more honest with the situation from the beginning, but as Metamoth said, the words did mean very little at this point. People had many questions, and they still do have many questions, not about the skills and the loyalty of the developers on the project, but the leadership and management involved. I have gotten so many DMs from people asking me for quote insider end quote information, and let me say again, I am not a partner. I will probably never be a partner, and I have no inside knowledge of why any of this happened. I digress. The questions I received were usually asking about the management, who's in charge of what, etc. The community is looking for somebody to blame. End of launch day 3. August 22nd. Many backers now have their keys, or have access to their keys. All they need to do is go on the website, which is crashed, and retrieve them. Simple. If you weren't able to get onto the website before other people, you would be met with a message stating that they have no more keys to give out right now. They said half the backers have the keys during this time, and they are waiting on Valve to give them more. People keep asking me why they didn't have keys ready, being as they had previous scheduled launches. I don't know. Once again, I don't have any inside knowledge as to what they are doing with that. Something else that should have been anticipated, however, was that people would get super excited for the launch of the game and back at the last minute, thus increasing the number of keys that would be needed. But being as this was not expected, many of them would need to wait till Monday. But even though they said Monday would be the day, they also say during this time that Monday may actually not be the day, and that they are in talks with Valve to expedite the process, but that, quote, they cannot guarantee that things will be totally sorted on Monday, end quote. The website is still slow and many people can still not get on. If you were refreshing the page, it is possible that you had restrictions placed on you which made it impossible to get into the site to get your key, so then you had to wait a few hours. Interestingly enough though, even though spamming F5 was being said to cause issues, many people found that that was the only way to get past the quote waiting queue, end quote. Said waiting queue also raised many questions, but I simply don't have time to get into all of that. End of launch day 4. August 23rd. The website is still down. Once again, they had reached over 500,000 requests per minute, not hour, but per minute. There is no ETA on when the site will be back up because the people who handle their site, whoever they are not available to work at that moment. The people who run the site, where people get their keys from and report their bugs to that they find in game, are not available to work at this time during the game launch weekend. Only when the site is back up and people start redeeming keys will they start giving out more keys. One of the patterns I am noticing here is that they are very reactionary. They wait for things to happen and then react. Not very many proactive measures have been taken. They will post a soft announcement when the website is back up, and probably because they don't want it to crash again. Because of the continued harassment the developers have been receiving, the Discord has been locked for most of the launch week, and now the forum has been locked as well. Continuing on, it has been a long-standing policy that you can back the game to gain access to the closed alpha all the way up till the launch of the game's early access stage. This is no longer the case, due to what I am assuming was unanticipated technical limitations, and Valve's requirements backing will be closed until they say otherwise. I am curious as to what the requirements Valve has that they were not aware of before. The point of closing the backing program is so they can get a concrete number on keys and send that information to Valve. Once this is said and done, once again, no ETA, then maybe they will open it back up. They are anticipating a massive refunds at this news because they actually mention it here, saying that, quote, any refunds completed before and after this will be final. Refunded pledges will not be able to buy back into the alpha afterwards. Probably due to the high amount of toxicity and vitriol they received during this launch week, which led to the Discord being shut down, there will also be changes to how their community outlets are handled. It'll be interesting to see what these changes are. The game at this point seems to be at the mercy of anybody else but the developers, and it is sad to see. The website is no longer shut down as of 6:49 p.m. on August 23rd, but who knows if it will crash again because it can't handle the number of requests it is receiving, as well as the attacks it is taking on. The Discord and forum are shut down because of the toxicity, which also means that there is no safe place to merely discuss the game because that's where the NDA channels were. Not all backers have their keys, and the developers are at the mercy of Valve to expedite the process of granting these keys. There are so many things going wrong, and so many reactionary events, and so little proactive events that I don't know what to think as a consumer. Those who have supported the game are forced to defend them, or are even embarrassed to do so, and those who are skeptics feel justified in their skepticism. Many are calling the game a scam, and if it isn't to them, they are saying it is mismanaged. We will see what happens Monday, and hopefully it'll be good news. All that being said, if you guys like scares, survival, and scavenging, consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this with your friends, and let me know what you guys think down below. What do you think about the launch? Have you gotten your key yet? Don't break NDA here and tell me about your experiences in the game. Don't give details about the game. I just want to know if you got your key, and just simply say, do you like it or not? That's all I want to know. And all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and Path out.